So, as we come to the stillness, to the silence, to the simple presence of being, as we open to the wide open field, the field is a resonant frequency of wholeness. The field is a frequency of love, of light that is resonating as wholeness. It knows its own wholeness. It knows its own completeness. And as we open and attune to the resonant frequency of being, just here now in the presence of being, we open to the frequency of that which is already whole. We open to remember and restore the connection to our divine knowing. We open to be resonating at the divine frequency of pure consciousness. And at the frequency of pure consciousness, of wholeness, there is no error. There is nothing wrong. So as we gather and join, we join in the frequency of the light that is resonating in the knowing of itself as whole. We join in a frequency where there is already the immaculate that has never been divided. We don't join in a field of a process or a work in progress or someone that is broken that needs to be fixed. We don't join in a frequency where there is something wrong with you and let's try to fix it. Satsang is the frequency of truth, we could say. And the frequency of truth is the frequency of that which is pure and has always been pure. We don't gather in a frequency in order to fix and change and make a better me. We gather and join in a frequency where there's a remembrance of being whole, of being light, of being the wide open field of unconditional life that is jubilantly in celebration of itself. You are not a project. You are not here to be fixed. The habit of the mind and the me is to constantly identify as a someone that needs to be fixed. But as we join in the frequency of wholeness, there's an immediate shifting to that which is already whole. And it's not a shifting that fixes what is broken. It shifts the perspective to see that there has never been anything broken. That the mind holds a story trapped in time as a past, holds memory in the physicality. But the reality does not hold any story in time, a past. Reality does not hold memory. And therefore reality is not bound by the idea that there is anything wrong or lacking or deficient or needs to be fixed. So what we are inviting as we align and attune with the frequency that you're not someone that is aligning and attuning. You are consciousness, remembering your own perfection, your own wholeness. You are consciousness, remembering that you have never been divided. You are consciousness, remembering that you are pure and one with the divine whole. You are consciousness that is by nature content and happy and joyous, not an emotional joyous, not a joyous due to cause, but a causeless joy. You are a causeless happiness. You are a causeless peace. And nothing is needed within the realm of the person in order for you to remember the fullness of who you are. This is not a series of gatherings that is like a fix-it-up job, right? It's not about fixing up what is broken. It's about an immediate recognition of the divine wholeness that is your true essence nature. And the mind will never believe that. But we let the mind believe what it wants to believe. And we invite the consciousness that is the true essence nature to attune and remember right now, here now, boom, it's done, right? It's about realigning the perspective of seeing with the wholeness, and that this kind of realignment is what true holiness is. True holiness is not some kind of mythic ideas of the unattainable ascension, a divinity that is away from. True holiness is the immediate remembrance of the immaculate essence of all beings, that you are being animated, given life by a resonant frequency of life that is absolutely whole and pure. But you are not the person limited and divided, that you are the wholeness, infinite, eternal, not of time, not of space, infinite and boundless. You are ever free. You are ever present. You are not wounded. You do not have a story that needs to be fixed. This is the reality. And the invitation as we gather and join is just to remember. But you're not remembering as someone. You're not remembering as a mind trying to rack your brain for that divine remembrance. It's a relaxation and a receptivity to open to the frequency field and allowing a natural attunement of the consciousness with the field of resonant light that is whole and pure and has never ever divided in any way. What happens is we attune and remember, and then we habitually go right back to the mind story. Okay, now I've had an experience of that. Now I need to fix up all of the deficient, lacking, broken parts of myself to match my divine self. Not so. It's like an immediate reorganization. It's a quantum, timeless adjustment of the perspective of seeing that opens to remembrance of the truth of who you are. That you are the still, silent being. You are not a divided person, a divided someone. You're not separated from purity, from divinity. You are absolutely one and whole with all that is, with the divine, right now, right now. And as the words come, it's just to allow a natural, resonant reorganization of the field where the consciousness that has been identified at a singular point and has felt to be a someone that is divided reorganizes to attune to the whole wide open field instead of organizing to attune only at the singular point and identify with the mind consciousness that is limited, that the reorganization attunes the consciousness with the unlimited, unbounded, impersonal field of light. So there's nothing to do, nothing to understand. The great glorious reality is that it's just about receiving. It's about releasing the imbalanced masculine aspect to hold as a posture and do, be the doer, be the one that has to do, to fix, to get it right, holding a posture that is tight and constrained and protected. It's about having an awareness of the divine Shiva aspect as being aware, and yet opening as the divine feminine, to be absolutely open and receptive, regardless of the biology. That every being is essentially a generic being, a genderless being, that the biology is part of the story. That's important. The biology is part of the story. It is the biology that allows us to have a rampant story, a story of looking for what a female biology or a male biology should look for, and how a male or female biology should act in the life. What is right, what is wrong? What does it mean to be a good girl, a good boy, a good man, a good woman? What does it mean? And how have we learned to take on these ideas that have essentially created protection and constraint and removed the genderless freedom of the generic being, the one being that is whole? That we move in these grooves of what it means. We move in posture of what it means to be a male or a female biology. Whereas in truth, we are being invited to open to the divine masculine aspect of pure awareness, divine Shiva, to know the aware being, to know the divine stance of being the unmoving, the unchanging, being acutely, naturally awake and aware, having a laser sharp awareness that illumines and sees, and allowing this focus to bring us one-pointedness, and also allowing this focus to allow us to bring our dharmic expression in a focused way to the surface of life and make manifest on the surface of life our true dharmic expression. But it can only happen in a total pure field of harmonic balance. So we are to know this pure awareness, but to be the open, wide, receptive, divine feminine aspect of the Shakti, to be one with the flow of life, to be able to shift and morph and open and receive and be absolutely attuned to the intuitive knowing that we are one with life and we do not need to move in a posture, that our only surrender and devotion is to the light itself, to grace itself. It's not a surrender or devotion to someone or something. It's a surrender and devotion to being this divine wholeness. And we could say that the Shiva aspect and the Shakti aspect are equally in a stance of absolute pure devotion, in absolute pure surrender. And it is the absolute pure surrender that allows Shiva and Shakti to be absolutely whole and one, not actually existing without the other, right? That's important. The divine masculine and divine feminine do not exist one without the other. They absolutely cannot function without the harmony. And so how are we to expect that in our life, our human expression, that we can feel whole when we are living aligned with an imbalanced frequency? And the imbalanced frequency is currently the collective consciousness that is holding an imbalance where the masculine is seemingly more powerful than the feminine. Actually, what every being is being invited into is to rebalance through the lived experience, rebalance their sense of being to be a harmonic, fully balanced, integral wholeness, where the masculine and the feminine aspects are absolutely balanced and in a remembrance of union, remembrance of an integral wholeness, where one cannot exist in fullness without the other. So we're being invited into this depth of wholeness. It's a holy invitation. It's an invitation to wholeness. But we get so trapped in the postures and stances of being a male biology or a female biology and what that means, and how that often plays out on the surface of life is that we're absolutely trapped looking for love outside of ourselves. We're looking for love through relationship, and we're looking for love as a male biology or a female biology, and imagining we have to act out and play out some kind of deficient, corrupted, distorted idea of what love is through a distorted idea of what relationship is, and that we're supposed to be happy and live happily ever after in a distortion. Not possible. Absolutely not possible. We cannot find wholeness when we are postured into deficiency and lack, when we're not fully in. We have to stretch for this one. We're not fully in our absolute divine expression, right? How can we be whole when we're held, constricted, acting out some kind of posture, ways of behaving, identified with ideas? We cannot fully ever feel whole unless we are fully stretched into the boundlessness, and that our biology becomes actually, eventually, it becomes completely irrelevant because we're not needing to search for love outside of ourselves because we realize our wholeness. So we're not discontent and feeling lack and projecting that into our relationships because we're not depending upon our relationships to give us the missing piece, right? We're so attuned to give our power to our relationships and to lose the power of our true self by becoming half of a seeming whole. Whereas we can never be whole where we're postured to identify as some kind of lacking being that needs you. I need you. I love you. I need you. I'm not whole without you, baby, right? All of that kind of nonsense, right? We're postured to listen to these songs that just feed us in these ideas that my heart is broken without you. I'm not whole without you. I can't function without you. I need your love, baby. I need your love, right? Not so. Get over it, right? You'll never, ever feel wholeness as long as we're in a posture of thinking that we need something from someone else. Because it's a posture that will always feel restricted and lacking, that I have to behave the way that you want me to behave so that I get your love. And then I'll feel discontented because I'm not in my true expression. I'm not the fullness and glory of my divine being because I'm being your partner. I'm being what you need me to be, or I'm trying to, and I'm always feeling like I'm not meeting the mark, right? So many nuances, but we don't have to speak of them because so many are living them, right? Any sense of discontent in it. And the other thing that happens is that we project it onto the partner. The relationship isn't working for me, this relationship. So many beings are actually in relationship and spend years, decades in relationships where they've also got like a secret mission statement. I could just get out of here. I could just get out of here. Like one foot's always out of the door. This isn't working. I don't want to be in this, right? But it's not about the relationship. It's about bringing it all back. So right now in the field, let's bring it all back. Let's all bring it all back. It's not about anyone else. And we could bring this relationship dynamic also into our family relationships as well, and the postures that we take within our roles of female biology, male biology, to be a mother, a father, a daughter, a son, right? All of it, there's posture in it, learned and protective. But as long as we're holding roles, as long as we are holding these ideas of how I have to be to get love, we're overlooking the glorious reality that we are the love and that we actually don't need anything or anyone. We don't need to posture to get love. We don't need to compromise ourselves. We don't need to give power away. And we will never, ever feel whole, never feel whole in the absolute wholeness of our being if we're allowing that posturing to keep us actually from the fullness of knowing the wildness and beauty, radiance and joy of our heart, right? So what we're speaking of is pulling it all back to take absolute responsibility. No blame, not even blame for the ways that we were taught to be, to believe that we were lacking and deficient. No blame, a perfection that invites us to this moment, this timeless moment, right? Remember where we started? It brings us to this timeless moment where we've never been lacking. We've never taken on a story about our biology, right? We've never taken it on. We're back to the divine pattern. We're back to the original innocence and remembrance of the light pattern of pure consciousness. right? Scratch that whole play of life, scratch that whole story, and we return to the original presence of being right now. The mind will not believe this, but it's the absolute truth. We return in this moment to the blank canvas, to being the original innocence, to not taking on any ideas about the ways that we have to posture and stance to get love outside of us, not within the family dynamics, and we don't have to carry those into relational dynamics. And of course, those relational dynamics also operate in workplace. They operate everywhere. But we're so postured that I need your love. I need your love. I need you to survive. But the truth is that that survival mechanism becomes a needs met structure that holds us bound. We don't need anything. In a way, all that we really need is to know our oneness with the divine, our oneness with God, our oneness with truth, with the light. It doesn't matter what name or words we give to that, but essentially to remember our oneness with love, our oneness with the glory. It's all that we need to know the love that we are, and to know that we're fully supported, guided, and assisted in this life. And the only reason that we feel deficient and lacking is because we have cut off, disconnected from our divine remembrance and attunement with the frequency field of wholeness, right? So in this moment, blank canvas, wide open, freedom of life. It's up to you if you step back in to the dream. It's up to you. Now you're going to find that the same characters are here, and the mind is going to say, oh, but that's what I've always done. What if I don't do the same thing? Find out what happens if you live as love. What happens if you just meet life absolutely fresh, that you turn around and you meet as if you've never met before. You don't know anything about the characters on the stage of life. You don't know anything about the ones that you've been in companionship or even lived with for multiple years. You know nothing about them. All you know is about yourself. You know where you're not happy. You know where you feel deficient and lacking. And in this moment, there's a pulling in and taking absolute responsibility. Okay, whatever I'm feeling has got nothing to do with any of the characters on the stage. They're just reflecting and offering me the possibility to see where I am holding back the freedom of my full expression. Why am I not moving from the absolute truth? Why am I not speaking my truth? Why am I not following the things that I love? Why am I not moving in a way that feels in absolute alignment, where my heart's knowing and the expression and the speech on the surface of life is not all aligned? How am I responsible for that? And how can I, in this moment, not kowtow to my own beliefs that it has to be that way? How can I open to the fine frequency of the love that I am, and let go of past and future and identification with story and memory, and live this moment absolutely fresh? Boom, here it is, right? Harmonic. A harmonic heart is a heart that's balanced, where your own masculine and feminine aspects are living in balanced harmony with each other. And when your own divine masculine, let's say, and divine feminine, the words are a bit cheesy, excuse me, but there they are, where the divine masculine and the divine feminine are in a balance within your own heart, where you know the awareness and you're rooted in the awareness, the light, that you're not ever moving from this focus. And this focus is what allows you to be one-pointed and clear. Boom, right? It's laser sharp. It knows its infinite nature, does not leave itself. Presence of being. And the flow of the Shakti, divine feminine aspect, is the flow of life. And you're this open receptivity to just receive life in this moment. Receive it. And you can receive it because you're rooted in the knowing that you are the presence of being. You are the aware being. You are a wide open, infinite field. And your knowing is this flow of life that gives rise to the images on the screen and the felt sense of a lived experience. And as the wide open, intuitive, divine flow of Shakti, you are flowing as life and receiving life, transmuting life. And as you move in this way, you feed your divine masculine knowing, this axis of the knowing of the absolute, and you open to finer and finer frequencies while flowing as the field of Shakti, love, bliss. You're nourishing yourself on every level, and your heart is coming to remember the harmonic of being an infinite, unbounded heart, ever free, ever pure. And let us say here that within the play of life, that the knowing of this, the restoration of the fine frequency of remembrance, it gives you the power and the strength in the knowing of yourself to move in truth, in openness, to not leave yourself. We could say to not betray yourself, but not to not betray yourself in a way that you're doing something wrong, but to not betray yourself because you love yourself. You love yourself and you love God. You love love so fully that you will not leave the love that you are. You will not leave to please or pacify or compromise this truth. You will not make an allegiance with fear, because your love of love and your love of being and your love of light and the glory in God is so humongo, so ginormo, that you will not leave the infinite vastness of your own wide, infinite, boundless heart, right? So your allegiance is like this realigning. It's like sitting up straight and listening. Being, the sitting up straight is Shiva, right? Boom. And here's the listening, the openness, the receptivity is Shakti. And it's all one. And it's your heart in the knowing of its wholeness. We're so conditioned to tell the story. We're so conditioned to move from lack. We're so conditioned to identify with I'm the wounded one that needs to be fixed. But what if you start moving not as the wounded one, but as the wholeness, as love? What if you catch every moment that you go to tell your story about how wounded you are and how hard the life has been and how broken you are? What if you stop telling your story and you start moving from a frequency of wholeness, of original wholeness, and you stop telling the story, because telling the story perpetuates the story. And at the same time, you're openly receptive to when you feel triggered and charged and frustrated and upset, and that you reference the past. You recognize it, but you don't identify. And in that way, you free the past. You free the habit to identify with the past. You free the habit to be the wounded one, the lacking one, the broken one, the limping one, right? You free the habit to be the one that is limping through life broken. And you start living as the whole one, the one that is love, the one that is life, life itself, living itself. And it doesn't matter the age that you have in human years and how many years left you have on this earthly realm, because you are life eternal. And every breath that you take in freedom is a breath of remembrance of the eternal nature. It's every breath taken in the love of God. Every breath taken is precious and is actually the fulfillment of a human life. Is actually saying, okay, Glory, I've fulfilled my purpose in this lifetime. I know you. I know the love that I am, and I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever is next, for as many years as I can breathe as light, as love. I'm ready to live as love and fulfill the dharmic divine mission to be love and just shine, right? I'm willing, and I know that there will be moments of identification and challenge, but I'm willing to be open to live as wholeness, not to live as a broken record that's telling the story of lack and deficiency. I'm ready to live as the frequency of love. I'm ready to live this and to know the eternal, infinite being that I am. And that when it is time for the body to drop, all that will be here will be the frequency of love, of life eternal, and I will be ready, right? It's this recognition that I will live the fullness of these days in this human life, not feeling lacking, downtrodden, kicked around and deficient. I will live these days every day in this wide open stance where I'm bright and I'm wide and I'm shining and I'm expressing and I feel happy and joyful for absolutely no reason. And I make no excuses to anybody. I'm not sorry that I'm joyful. I'm not sorry that I'm happy. I'm not sorry that I'm feeling radiantly and vibrantly full of life, and the glory is shining in my heart. I won't shut it down. I know that the greatest service to every being in this human realm that I can offer is to shine this truth in my heart, that I can touch every being on the stage of my life with the greatest impact, not by collaborating with their misery and their hard stories and lives and their fears, but I can touch every life by living this vibrant truth, living with my heart in balance and harmony with the whole flow of life, right? So you see, the glory is that there's no doing. There's no need to know how, because just the attunement with your true resonant heart's light and knowing allows this living frequency to be life living itself without someone that needs to know how. The someone will sometimes feel like, I'm not getting it. I need this. I need to do. No, 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 no. All that's needed is to attune, stop, breathe, open, and receive. Recognize that love is here. God is here. The glory is here. Open to feel the frequency of love, of God, of the Mother, of the field of light, this wide open field of light. And as we open to receive it, we have the most extraordinary divine companionship. We open to be one with the glory that is. We open to be fully restored right now, this moment, at the divine frequency. And so as the words are coming, the light itself is moving to clear the field of obscurations, sweeping out the old cobwebs of the story of a past, of a broken me, of a me, will I ever get it? Will I ever fix this? Will I ever fully feel content and happy? The possibility is here when we align with the truth of our own being, our own essence, and we stop living in the posture of the story of me, when we stop living in the posture of our biology and the ways that we are constrained within the biology and the ways that we hold ourselves back from fully being the love that we are. And the glory is that as we be and resonate at the frequency of the love that we are, we love. We love everyone. We love as love itself. We love without condition. We love you just because you are one with me in the field of love. I don't love you because you behave in the ways that please me. I love you just because you are. I don't love you because you give me what I need and you behave in the ways that make me feel validated and seen. I just love. And when I love, because I am love, I love you and you and you and you and you and you. I just love, right? If every being was living aligned with this frequency of love, of light, open to the grace and glory of what God truly is, there would only be love, right? Let's say in the play of life, if the beings that seem to hold power in the world were living at this frequency, there would just be the sharing of this frequency instead of the sharing of the frequency of fear. But we don't need permission from the projected world. We just need to give ourselves full permission to shine the radiance of the truth of our essence being. Life is all about the vibration, about the frequency that we are living at. And the frequency that we are living at is the frequency that we create. We create a reflection. So instead of creating a projected world that's out of our projection, we receive a reflection of that projection, and it comes right back at us like a boomerang that reflects to us our brokenness, our fear, our woundedness, our sense of not being whole. Whereas if we are living at the frequency of, I am a being of light, I am whole and radiant love, we start creating a reflection of reality instead of a projection of our fear frequency, right? So when we start really living this without doubt, without external permission or validation, without needing to kowtow because of our biology and the roles that we play, we don't need to fit into molds. We just start being. I'm not your mother. I'm not your father. I'm not your son. I'm not your daughter. I am a being of light. I'm not your husband. I'm not your wife. I'm not your partner that behaves in these ways. I am a being of light. And my greatest service to you and all beings is to shine the wholeness of what I am and to love you just as you are, but to not give you what you think you want me to give you, but to give myself the grace of freedom, and for you to give yourself the grace of freedom, for us to untangle these dynamics of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, but actually find the blissful, ecstatic nature within your own resonant frequency. You don't need anyone to give you the bliss of your being. You don't need to the field is showing me some very funny things. You don't need to rub your body up against another body to know what ecstasy is. You do not need to give your power away to the low, dense frequencies. Everything is inviting you to know that you are ecstatic in your nature, ecstatic and blissful beyond what the body could ever understand. You don't need to give yourself to learned dynamics. You don't need to kowtow and posture because of your biology. To actually be free of your biology is to be free, right? To be free of your biology and your roles and your postures is to be free. There's a conspiracy on the surface of life that we need to move in these ways, and it's just not reality. It's not reality. There will come a time where humans don't need to relate in the same ways. That humans won't make special one-on-one relationships, and actually humans won't reproduce. The whole game of reproduction will actually be seen through. It won't be necessary anymore because the human realm itself won't need to exist in its dense frequency of physicality. So we're being invited to really see through the ways that we imagine, because sexuality is such a huge part of how we're, and relationship is such a huge part of how we're postured to give our power away and to imagine that we need to perform and posture in these ways. But it's just not so. As we untangle our threads of protection and needing to be seen, needing to be loved, needing to be validated, and needing to have certain experiences in order to feel like a valid male or female, we start realizing that all of it's nonsense. All of it is a trap. All of it is holding us captive and stopping us actually rise, right? We're so tangled in these mental realms of, let's say, romantic love, human love, the realms of sexuality that's involved in that. This is what I'm being shown right now. So it must be relevant in the field. This is what the field is bringing forward. We're so bound in these ideas. And in that, we're holding ourselves trapped. For many and most female biologies, we're being held trapped in ideas of objectifying ourselves through the physicality, and male biologies are posturing and being trapped and bound by the ways of what it means to be masculine and a man, and what that means within the realms of relationship and power and sexuality. And it's absolutely like how it's seen here right now is that the wires of the brain are in a complete entangled mess, believing that all of that is true. I mean, there's way more to the big tangled mess, but we won't maybe point to all of that right now. But that big tangled mess of belief and posturing and moving in these ways is actually, it's actually keeping the most profound beings bound. It's actually keeping so many incredible beings bound and actually stopping the full flowering of freedom and the full flowering of the being and the light on the surface of life, because we can't fully be in service as, let's say, an emissary of light. We can't be fully in service as a beacon of light if we're bound in these limiting ways. And the collective consciousness is continuing to perpetuate itself through all of these means, and so much of it is to do with being seen. And even within it, often gets spoken of the female biology objectifying themselves, but even the male biology objectifies themselves. Wow, there's a big, maybe we'll come back to that at some point. It's pretty huge. Okay, the beauty is that what we're being invited into is that as we're seeing this, as we are seeing this, and as this is being revealed, like the tangle of this in the field, and how we in our unique ways are tangled into it, what's actually being invited right now is that we can clear this right now, clear it. We can just clear it. That as we're pointing to it, the frequency of our joining, in wholeness, and knowing that we're not lacking, we're not deficient, that we are absolutely whole. And in our wholeness, as we resonate at this frequency, even if we have felt like we have been tangled in this collective consciousness, that in the field of our joining right now, in the field of our joining, what is happening in the illumination of the tangled ways that we can believe in and compromise and posture and constrict our truth in order to say yes to separation and division and fear and lack. That what is happening right here is that the light that is illuminating all of this is shining upon it. And is sweeping through. As there is an illumination, it's like the brightness of the illumination starts to allow the tangle to loosen. And as the tangle is loosening here, it is for each being that is receiving this, whether it's being received live in this moment or in a re-listening, it's here now in the eternal. It is for each being that is receiving this, as there is an illumination and a loosening, it is to pull out the threads. Pull out your threads. You pull them out by just taking some deep inhalations. As you inhale, you pull back the threads of being tangled in. And each being will recognize, okay, that's how I'm tangled into it. That's a piece. And you may not get to all of the threads. Just pull in what's really dominant and coming into awareness right now. As you take an inhalation, pull in the threads that you're seeing. And in the exhalation, there's a releasing and a letting go. As the inhalation comes, it's pulling back the threads, and it's also breathing the light of the field. It's breathing the great glorious light into the physical, emotional, and mental realms. And the light coming in is clearing the ways of posturing and making an allegiance. The light is bright and brilliant and yet very soft. With every breath, there is more light coming in to illuminate. And in the illumination, there is clear seeing. And in the clear seeing, there's a releasing and a restoration of the frequency, remembrance of wholeness. So in a way, we're restoring wholeness to what is already whole. What we are releasing and illuminating are the beliefs and the learned conditionings and patterns of consciousness that are holding distortion. We're illuminating the patterns of distortion in the field. And for each being here present that is receiving this, there is a releasing of the patterns of distortion and restoring a clear seeing that you are whole and you are not operating in fear. You are operating in wholeness. You are operating as a field of light that is full and whole. You are operating as a field of love that is all embracing and whole. You are the love. You are the light. Nothing is needed from the projected world, from the external, restoring the remembrance of the frequency of wholeness. Resonating at the remembrance of the frequency of wholeness, that there never has been any distortion in reality. There never has been any division or separation in reality. Wholeness has always been whole. And the frequency of light that is shining right now and is moving through is the absolute remembrance and restoration within the functioning, sweeping through the physicality, sweeping through the mental body, the emotional body, and restoring the remembrance of the harmony of a unified heart that is balanced in its Shiva aspect and its Shakti aspect, or its yin and its yang, its masculine and feminine aspect is coming into a remembrance of unified balance, and opening in this to the remembrance that you are the unified, wide open field of light, that you are not the person divided, you are not the biology, you are a being of light, of presence, of illumination and divinity. You are before gender, you are before story, before name, you are before body, before mind. You are before everything. The remembrance and restoration of the fine frequency of true essence nature, the remembrance of the truth of who you are, is shining right now as beaming brilliance on the level of the physical. You may feel what is happening on the level of the subtle. What is happening on the level of the subtle is that there is a huge amount of more light available and being recognized as the recognition of being a being of light itself. The sense on the physical may feel like you are aware of more light or more aliveness or vibration, particularly around the head, in and behind the eyes, at the back of the head, and going down towards the back of the throat, where the throat meets the back of the head. You may feel more resonance, more light, and it's moving down. It's moving through the throat on the sense of the physical, and it's happening on the subtle level as well. Moving down through the throat and clearing the imbalances around expression, whether that's through speech or written, or an absolute alignment in your expression. And it's moving the light down into the heart field, where the heart can feel and sense the resonance of the harmonic, of the divine masculine and feminine, the Shiva and Shakti aspects in absolute balanced harmony and resonating as a unified one. And in that resonance of the unified one, it's opening through the heart field to the boundless field of light, of love, and yet the light is moving deeper down through the sense of the physical and the subtle, right down to the belly and the root, to ground the light in the lived human experience, so that this remembrance is not just in the abstract, but it can permeate through the light activation, through the lived integrative experience. It's where the absolute really comes alive on the surface of life and allows us to really be a vehicle, instrument of service, and a mystery of light, is to allow this light to really ground. And it's grounding all the way through. And as it grounds in the root, it also goes actually all the way down the legs, and it roots through the feet, and it disappears on the sense of the physical realm back into the earth. It's almost as if it's traveled from the sky through the physicality and back to the earth on the sense of the physical. And on the sense of the subtle, it's like the light is coming in And simultaneously, the light is being felt from the inside out. It's happening from the out in and the in out simultaneously. It's like a gyroscopic flow of light, because on the level of the subtle, you don't have the same bounds that can be sensed on the physical. The light is purifying. It's purifying and clearing misconceptions and learned ideas of what it is to be a male, what it is to be a female. It's resetting back to the original. And what that means, according to the biology, is that it allows you to be a divine expression of the feminine or the masculine through the sense of the biology, but in perfect balance. Perfect balance. Mm-hmm. Mm. Restoring the sense in the heart of harmony and being love. You are love. You are love. You are love. Restoring the remembrance of being love on a frequency level. And the heart is restored to its infinite, unbounded nature. Taking a nice deep breath in. And on that deep breath, the light, just as it enters on the seeming physical, it enters the lungs, and it has a pure passage, and it is just flooding the cells with light, with love. And on the level of the subtle, just a flooding of light, of love, that is just softening and relaxing. And in that relaxation, the mechanism of releasing the discordant is naturally, wisely, intelligently happening and bringing a greater restoration. Mm-hmm. So just allowing perhaps 3 nice deep inhalations and exhalations through the mouth, just to allow the recalibration and resetting. And once that feels complete, just allowing the breath to return to its naturalness. And just to feel the sense of natural boundlessness. You are everywhere. You are the presence of being that is everywhere, open and free. A cosmic reset, a divine remembrance. I know myself as I am, in the presence of being. I know myself as I am, here now, as a field of light, as a field of freedom. I know myself, I remember myself here as I am, as a wide open, infinite, eternal being, ever shining, radiant light. I know myself. I remember myself as I am, ever free as a field of radiant light, shining as the heart. I know myself as I am, remember myself as I am, as original innocence, as original beauty and grace. I know myself as I am, and I release the identification to know myself as wounded, as broken, as deficient. I release all sense of knowing myself through identification with lack, and I remember myself and know myself as I am in truth, in purity, in essence, as I am, as light, as love, as the presence of being that always is, as the knowing of the one heart. I remember myself as I am, here now, nothing before me, nothing behind me, here now, ever free, ever present, ever love.